do you think we have elections in Zimbabwe? Do you think we are having elections in order to satisfy European Union's aspirations? We have elections in Zimbabwe in order to strengthen our democracy. But also of importance is the historical perspective related to elections. It is the black majority of Zimbabweans who fought, who contributed for one man, one vote. I'm sure you are aware of that. Even other European countries were also part of the Berlin Conference in terms of the scramble of Africa to undermine democratic institutions in Zimbabwe. So I wanted you to know that we do it for our own good. And in particular, as Zimbabweans, and if I will also refer to as ZANU-PF, which was one of the key organizations that brought about the democratic space that we currently enjoy. So we do elections in order to consolidate and strengthen our democracy, in order to support self-determination, but not in order to please the European Union. The government of the Republic of Zimbabwe takes note of the misleading and biased European Union election observation mission for the year 2023 in terms of the harmonized elections, which seeks to impinge Zimbabwe's democratic processes. The report focuses on a closed episode of our national political cycle, and Zimbabwe is now at the height of implementing His Excellency President E.D. Mnangagwa's development agenda. It is prudent to underscore the factual shortfalls of the European Union final report as it seeks to misrepresent the government's adherence to the demands of our constitution in ensuring that the elections was free and fair. The entire election fulfilled the tenets of our robust national democracy. The government is fully aware of the European Union's election observation mission's irregular meetings with opposition political players outside conventional election observation parameters. We also know that the European Union disbursed campaign funds to a particular opposition party in violation of the Political Parties Finance Act, and we also have evidence of their clandestine operations with other election observer missions for the purpose of manipulating their reports in order to discredit the election outcome. The government of Zimbabwe is aware of the colonial traditional reactionary aspersions of those perennially inclined to subvert the will of our people by misrepresenting facts about Zimbabwe's political environment before, during, and after the elections. After the announcement of the election results, there was no legal challenge to the process or the outcome of the elections. The outcome and conclusion of the elections was decided by the people of Zimbabwe on the 23rd and 24th of August 2023. The adoption of the patriotic provisions in the Criminal Codification and Reform Act is in line with strengthening our national security interest. The amendment is also consistent with our sovereign privilege as any equal actor within the international community. Further to this, the report suggests that prosecution of criminality of the members of political players translates to political persecution. However, no one is above the law, and our law will never be selectively applied to exonerate criminality. Being a political player does not provide one with the privilege of immunity. The independence and integrity of Zimbabwe's judiciary is sacrosanct, as opposed to the maligning allegations of the Observer Mission. The government of Zimbabwe condemns the unwarranted attack on the entire legal framework of the elections as it relates to the constitutional mandate of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission in the running of elections in Zimbabwe. ZEC complied with its constitutionally demanded duties in promoting voter registration, voter verification, and voter education, which produced an inclusive, credible, free, and fair outcome. And contrary to the claims by the report, the government of Zimbabwe continues to ensure that the national broadcaster, the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, affords all political players fair airplay as required by the law. The government condemns the weaponization of some private media players for hostile and polarizing reportage in favor of a certain opposition political party. The rights and freedoms of all journalists is constitutionally governed. To this end, there have been reforms in the media sector, which includes but not limited to the repeal of the Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act. We now have the Freedom of Information Act. The issue of a restricted flow of information does not arise. The report also maliciously omits that under the policy of leaving no one and no place behind, the Second Republic introduced the youth quota and extended the women's quota in parliament. The introduction also of the women's quota in councils is another progressive step towards inclusive participation and promotion of devolution. The new cabinet also reflects the inclusion of the youth and women in terms of the demographic dividend in the affairs of the state. This will add value to the cause of sustainable nation building in advancing our socio-economic development as Zimbabwe continues to protect its sovereignty, dignity in the community of nations. As I already indicated, that the EU Observer Mission was involved in clandestine operations and meetings with other observer missions, and in terms of the engagement and re-engagement, we remain guided by the reality that we are a friend to all and an enemy to none in terms of re-engagement and engagement. But of importance is that there are legal parameters that should be followed in terms of Section 93 of the Constitution in the event that there are any election dispute outcomes. But at the same time, the most important thing is that our elections were held within the context of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which is the supreme law in Zimbabwe. One of the most important things that we should never allow is to allow misrepresentation and misleading reports by any observer mission which seek to undermine the sovereignty of this country. This is a democratic country.
I'm a king, yes, I'm a king, I think I'm a king,